Hey, and welcome to this week's Inbound Debate. I'm joined by Dan Holt, Nick Pateman, and as always, I'm James McFarlane. And this week, we're going to be talking about how much is too much with Google. Specifically, talking about how the not provided stat in analytics is getting over, I think, 80% for our traffic. And generally, people are saying that Google is giving a not provided stat for over 50% of their traffic for inward keywords. So I'm going to start off with Dan. How much is too much for webmasters?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I don't think it could ever reach a point where it's too much, in the sense that I think until the market changes completely, I think webmasters don't really have much of a choice. You just got to work with the system that exists. And actually, I don't think it's a big problem either, because everyone's in the same boat. I think it represents new challenges to overcome, but as there's no competitive advantage either way, I really don't see it as a major issue in that respect.
Yeah, I think Google's got a lot of kind of leeway with webmasters. People can just take a lot of stick from Google and they'll keep doing their thing. But what I find funny is that I think it's a bit more broad than that. It's not just necessarily the not provided thing. It's more that Google's doing tons and tons of stuff, like charging people for shopping and doing all sorts of things to kind of hold webmasters back. And no one's actually doing anything about it. I mean, Rand Fishkin in 2011 kind of predicted that 2012 would be like the mainstream, fight back against Google, and it never happens. And people predict it for 2013 now, and my prediction is not going to happen. I think Google's just got.
So is there going to be like a step where we just go, look, enough's enough?
No, I think even those changes, even like paid inclusion, I think even things like that, it still represents an opportunity. I think if you're then one of the early ones to embrace that change, then actually, if you can be one of the leaders, I think that can represent a massive opportunity. So I think it really depends on your attitude, and I think throwing a tantrum every time something like that happens, I think that's the only thing that's guaranteed to ensure that you don't take a positive from it.
Well. Also, the fact that the only people that actually get angry at Google are marketers, and Google doesn't care a huge amount about marketers. They're all about the user. And if you actually look at forums, if you look at a webmaster forum, everyone's complaining. If you look at just a general user forum, everyone's singing Google's praises. They've seen less spam, and to be fair, there's a lot less spam now. The results are better. So I don't really see how it's ever going to kind of get to the point where webmasters do just say, okay, I'm moving over to Bing. Bing doesn't provide a really viable alternative at the moment, so there's no other option for us, so we're just stuck. Okay,
cool. Well, thanks, guys. Now, the second question I want to talk about is, it follows on from this one. So now that Google is starting to not exploit webmasters, but it annoys webmasters quite a bit, especially in 2012, 2011 as well.
Yeah.
But a lot of webmasters that I've spoken to are now putting more emphasis on other traffic sources because they don't want to rely on Google anymore. They don't want to get hit by the next Panda update and lose their business, right? They want to create a more risk-free business. So an interesting article in Search Engine Roundtable talks about traffic distribution, and I just want to have a quick question with you guys. What do you think for a website is a healthy traffic distribution? Dan?
I think if more than 50% is sort of new Google traffic, personally, I think that's a slightly fragile scenario. I mean, it's quite exciting when you're getting lots of new traffic, but I think when the majority of it is new and dependent on those rankings, personally, if that's your business model, I think it's a bit too fragile.
Yeah, I think that goes without saying that you don't want eggs in one basket. You don't want another situation where if Google did do an EMD update and you got caught up, like a lot of legitimate sites did, they're absolutely starved. These people who had 90% of the traffic on Google no longer have a business, basically. So you want to diversify.
Also, I don't think it's a very good sign to Google. I think, in a strange way, I think you're actually less likely to perform in the long term from Google point of view. If Google believes that your only source of traffic, if you're not getting return visits, if you're not getting direct traffic, if you're not getting social traffic, if you're not engaging in those other channels, then I think there's less reason for Google to want to rank you.
People don't navigate the web through social. They don't navigate the web through a friend linking out to somewhere. The majority of people exploring the web is obviously through search, and there's two options: you have pay-per-click and you have organic, and that's where you're going to get all your traffic, the majority of your traffic.
I mean, for me, guys, I think I've had the pleasure of being able to look through some big sites that we've wanted to buy, and my traffic distribution, for what I consider healthy, for what I consider a site that is worth buying, and what I would try to get all my sites towards, is only 50% of traffic from Google, 50% from other sources, and around 20% of that 50% of traffic is kind of URL and brand based. That's what I've seen from some really large sites, doing like millions of uniques each month. And for me, that's what I'm working towards with some of the sites. And it's not always realistic to do that straight away, but for a long-term traffic distribution, I think that's quite healthy. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, thank you very much, guys. And the final question is a bit of a fun one. Guys, I want you to name your favourite traffic source. Nick, let's go first.
Right, I'm going to have a fun answer for this. So I'm just going to go with, actually, I quite enjoy referral traffic. That's from like a new domain.
Source.
Well, that's a referral traffic. Yeah, like a domain you've never heard of, you found out, it sent like 5 visitors the other day, and it's just some random guys just kind of like from up a
link to the site. Does that get you excited?
Yeah, man, I mean, you get Google traffic, you get like traffic from Reddit or something, but it's when you get those few visitors from like a little niche site that just found your content.
And Dan, what about you? What gives you nerd chills when you see...
Nerd chills?
Yeah, when you see it in your source.
Actually, I'm going to be pretty boring here. I think really direct traffic. I think ultimately that's a sign of like the quality of your content, and ultimately, I think as I sort of alluded to before, I think in a strange way you're more likely to have a bit stronger long-term SEO campaign if Google can see that people are really interacting with the content and they want to come back.
Mine is definitely referral traffic.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if this would count as referral traffic, but especially. I remember I used to use the search engine back in the day, dogpile.com.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if anyone knows that.
Yeah.
Mm. When I see dogpile referrals, it just makes me happy. I'm like, they're still going. They're giving me 2 referrals a month, and
it's more than Bing, isn't it?
No, Bing
Google,
Bing actually does quite well. They do pretty well for referrals for me. They also seem to rank me better than Google. So I'm a big Bing ad.
Yeah. So no one uses it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you guys. This has been the Inbound Debate, and we'll see you next week. Bye.